Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the globalization and the EU or European Union economy. I'm going to share with you some facts or trivia related to economy and globalization. Did you know that new technology created the connections that propelled globalization? Since the 19th century, they built a transportation infrastructure that moved people and goods on steamships, railroads, autos, trucks, airplanes, and container ships. At the same time, an information infrastructure that included the telegraph, the stock ticker, the telephone, and the internet moved information increasingly faster.
Let us know first what are the objectives for today's lesson. First, the aim of this report is to learn more about the nature of economic globalization and the EU. Second, to know the impact of the EU economy through globalization.
What is globalization? Globalization, by definition, is the exceeding interdependence of the world's cultures, economies, and populations, made possible by means of cross border trade in goods and services, technology, flows of investment, people, and information. It is the process of interaction and integration among people, companies, and governments worldwide. Globalization has accelerated since the 18th century due to the advances in communication and technology. This increase in global interaction has caused a growth in international trade and the exchange of ideas and culture. What is economic globalization? In the economic sense, globalization is when business organizations and countries begin operating on an international scale. It is a widespread international movement of goods, capital, services, technology, and information. The expansion of global markets liberalizes the economic activities of the exchange of goods and funds. Advances in transportation, like the steam locomotive, steamship, jet engine, and container ships, and developments in telecommunication infrastructure like the telegraph, internet, mobile phones have been major factors in globalization and have generated further interdependence of economic and cultural activities around the globe. As such, it introduces several newfound opportunities and benefits as well as new challenges. What is the role of the EU in globalization? The EU or European Union, being a union of economic nature, dedicate themselves to maximizing said opportunities and lessening the impact of the negative effects that come with globalization, intending the process to work smoother. What is the purpose of globalization in the EU economy? Through globalization, EU firms receive easier access to a new and expanding markets and sources of finance and technology. EU consumers have access to a larger variety of goods at lower prices, and there is a potential significant gains for the EU, including higher levels of productivity and real wages.
The benefits that EU gets in globalization. With the help of the European trade regime and the several trade agreements negotiated by the EU, doing business with the region is good. It is leading over 80 countries as the top trading partner. This caused the EU to be one of the largest players in the international trade next to the US and China, with 15% of the global exports being theirs. More than 80% of European exporters are small and medium-sized enterprises. EU exports of trade and services grew from about 1,160 billion euros in 2000 to 2,900 billion euros in 2018. In 2017, exports to South Korea increased by more than 12%, to Colombia by more than 10%, and the EU exports to Canada rose by 7%. Free trade is one of the benefits that can EU economy get as exporting their products and services. We already know that EU plays a big part in international trade as one of the largest players, next to the US and China. Free trade is a way for countries to exchange goods and resources. This means countries can specialize in producing goods where they have a comparative advantage. When countries specialize, there will be several gains from trade of this following: lower prices for consumers, greater choice of goods, bigger export markets for domestic manufacturers, economies of scale through being able to specialize in certain goods. Also, greater competition. Globalization also creates job opportunities. More than 36 million jobs supported by exports outside of the country were introduced. And most of those export-related jobs are on average 12% better paid than other jobs. Globalization also can access to new cultures. Globalization makes it easier than ever to access foreign culture, including food, movies, music, and art. This free flow of people, goods, art, and information is the reason you can have Thai food delivered to your apartment as you listen to your favorite UK-based artist or stream a Bollywood movie. As for consumers, they benefit from import as trade agreement mean importers pay lower duties and couples with increased competition. The prices of goods and services are lowered. They can also benefit from the introduction of a wider variety of choices, what with the global state of trade. The aforementioned benefits amount to about €600 a year per EU consumers.
The effects of the globalization within EU economy. The first of these dangers is the relative weakening of its influence in the international arena. The Europeans' economic status has always been looked up to because they are at the top with the smoothest flow of their economy. But that issues didn't make them an exception for some issues, which was then the shrinkage of demography. It is said that Europe has comprised 22% of population, which counts 7% of world population. Because of this as well, globalization is now becoming something that are not in our inspection. If before, globalization is considered to be the bridge of businesses from countries to countries, now it does not talk about values and interests of the Western Bloc. The second danger which Europe faces is that of increasing political marginalization. Even if it means to create a new world of politics and laws that can help the country do well or turns it into productive country. As an association, it has a weakness that can take a strong stand in economic institution except for the inside of the World Trade Organization. The Union only sends not less than 8 representatives to the G20, but in this list of representatives was paid by the rigorously low economic status country. Third, neither the citizens of Europe nor the partners exterior to the Union now believe European integration to be an exemplary success. Together, these dynamics add to the major crisis experienced by Europe at present. The crisis is primarily that of the European model as a whole. Neither the citizens of Europe nor the partners exterior to the Union now believe European integration to be an exemplary success. The attractiveness of Europe, its famous soft power, no longer bears the virtues of the past. In Europe itself, Citizens are also concerned about shortcomings in the European project, the effects of which the economic crisis accentuates. Primarily, we might speak of an identity crisis. The border crisis in the East is supplemented by an identity crisis in the West. In that Europe no longer knows whether it should melt into a global West led by America or whether it can represent an identity access with specific influence in the West, then there is a crisis of efficacy. Europe, in the opinion of a growing number of citizens, no longer delivers the benefits which past generations have been accustomed to. It is finally a project crisis in that there is no longer any agreement between the Europeans on the role and the finality of the Union in globalization. In conclusion, economic globalization introduces both benefits and challenges alike to the European Union. It either betters or worsens the situation for members of the EU, be it the traders or the consumers. However, it brought about a smoother and more diverse choice for the economy, and the dangers it carries with it can still be lessened.